folks. This is Deckard Spade, and today we're going to be reviewing something that makes me excited. You see, I'm a fan of the Fallout series from Bethesda, though at the same time, I wasn't always overly thrilled with the way that they built their sandbox games. For as much as you could experience, there really wasn't as much control as you would always want. The game was still fun. It had great mechanics in balancing both its shooting aspects as well as the role-playing experience that you had. While there was a lot to be had in Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas is where things started to really shine. The core experience was fun, and it was immersive enough to suck you in for hours on end. I spent hours fighting robot scorpions and then giving therapy to Dr. O for him feeling inadequate. And as much as I enjoyed the game, it still lacked one thing. It wasn't something I can enjoy with my friends at the same time. At its core, this game was a single-player game. That said, I also enjoyed the Fallout Equestria universe, and I am a fan of both K-Cat's original Fallout Equestria and Fallout Pink Eyes. No, I have not read Project Horizons yet. I plan on it, but it's still not exactly on my to-do list, and I prefer to read a finished work. At this time, they're on chapter 74, and they still haven't finished. So, what's the point of me rambling on about this at this point? Well, today we're going to be visiting Fallout Manelands, Diablo Canyon. This is a roleplay sim in Second Life that protrudes the idea of mixing text roleplay with its own unique combat and trade system, and offers a lot of potential for socialization and having fun. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the setting. You may have noted that I called this Fallout Manelands and not Fallout Equestria. That's while it takes place in the same universe, it doesn't take place in Equestrian lands. In this place, the main six do exist. Well, they did in Equestria anyways, 200 years ago. In the plot of Fallout Equestria, without giving spoilers, Princess Celestia makes some poor choices with zebra relations, and while she was able to smooth things over while her sister was imprisoned in the moon, the zebras didn't exactly warm up to the idea of Princess Luna coming back from her imprisonment. This, plus several incidents, led to a war, which eventually led to the disassembling and reassembling of the government into different ministries when the princesses decided to hand things over. And while the war was something that could have been avoided, it was even worse what happened to the main six. Really, you have to read the fanfiction. It's both awesome and depressing to read what happened during that time. All six of them make mistakes, and this leads to the creation of something known as the Megaspells. The original Megaspell was created by Fluttershy in her Ministry of Peace. She attempted to try and create something that would make war pointless. They created a healing spell that could magnify itself so much that the entire battleground was healed. She gave the spell to both sides. And because of this, the zebras reverse engineered the spell, took out the healing spell, and inserted a fire spell, thus creating the balefire bombs, the most devastating weapon that would exist in that time. It wiped out all of Equestria. Only those few who had rattled together within shelters and stables were able to survive the onslaught. Others were turned into ghouls and monsters and mutants. The world was forever changed, and Ponies wouldn't be able to pick up the pieces for another 200 years. Now, knowing this, they created this game in an area that was secluded from Equestria. It still felt the effect of the balefire bombs, but it didn't have the same government structure that was leading them at the time. However, it still had different elements from the story that allowed the entire thing to function. The game takes place in Diablo Canyon, the desert south of equestrian borders. This area took a majority of the fallout that had come from the balefire bombs. Diablo Canyon is an irradiated cesspool with a lack of resources, but a lot of secrets. Ponies and creatures have come to this place looking for what can help them survive. This game also takes place 200 years after the Megaspells hit. So while anything might be taking place with Little Pip, or with our favorite puppy Smiles, or even security, none of it really takes effect on what's going on here. There are, however, factions that have made their way to Diablo Canyon seeking their own interests. The Steel Rangers have made their presence known, looking for technology in the area. The Grand Pegasus Enclave has made its way down south looking to promote its own agenda of Pegasus purity while looking for resources. And there are adventurers, mercenaries, and even vault dwellers that have come out and made their presence known. If you wish to know more, I would highly encourage that you read the website and learn a little bit more about the characters and the setting before you jump in. And speaking of the website, let's move on to talking about setup and gameplay. If you go to the Manelands website, and that would be www.manelands.com, you get treated to this site. A little confusing at first, but it lets you navigate well enough to see the posts and structures and images that are going to be happening within the game. They do support several other sims that exist within Second Life. However, you're going to be looking for Fallout Mainlands. Now, I highly advise that you register with the website because that's where your characters are going to be registered, as well as your information stored for the majority of the game. Now, all people are welcome to roleplay, but only approved players can gain levels, hold caps, and get into combat. Players whom are approved have an inventory on their character page. This shows the items that they pick up and have equipped, as well as the caps that they've accrued over time. Players can sell items in their inventory in roleplay, and make note of it in the transaction page on the website. And players can be KO'd at this time, and killed under certain circumstances, and they can be mugged for up to 70% of their caps held on their person. The game is still in beta testing, so those who get KO'd usually go to the clinic. Getting killed is something that usually happens if you go out of your way to put yourself in a situation that is almost irredeemable. So far, I've died twice pushing the limits of the system. I won't go into specifics, but usually it's good not to poke a boss or draw too much attention to yourself. Now, caps are your currency. As within most of the Fallout series and Fallout Equestria, you use caps to buy items and services from other players. In the case of food and certain healing items, some things may be negligible. They don't have any kind of special item level or tier. Items used as your equipment range from item level 1 through 10 and contribute to your overall level as a character. Items that are level 1 are usually low quality items, things which have a minor effect. However, the higher an item level goes, the rarer it is, and the more functional it is. Ranged items do range damage, spell or guns, depending on what the character uses. Melee items do melee damage in close range. Special items are defined as items in an RP have some kind of function. Pip-bucks, magic items, even that lucky bit you keep in your pocket. And armor is the only thing in the game that provides damage reduction, down to 1 HP. This said, items are defined by the player, not by the person who hands them to you. This is to allow the players to define their own characters and their own visual aesthetic without limiting them. A player could start out with power armor. It'll just be really crappy power armor if they wanted to start with power armor. And as an added bonus, players are able to find items across the map. They can find them hidden, usually in different locations, and spawned at random places. These nodes can also be used by the administration to hand out items after events as random rewards. However, these are not always frequent, so it's encouraged that players interact with one another in order to try and get the best equipment they can. Why am I getting so in-depth about the items? Well, you're going to be able to start your character off at level 5. You can choose up to level 5 in items. And as confusing as this looks, this is the formula for your character's level. The idea is that you're adding your base level, which is whatever you've gained in roleplay, along with your ranged, melee, armor, and special items to get your total level. And the total amount of hit points you have is equal to 1/2 your level, rounded up. Your level is used to determine how easy it is for you to hit an opposing character of a different level with a D100. Whether it be a speech roll, an attack roll, trying to sneak something out of their pocket, it's all used using the same dice. This also determines your HP, obviously. However, there are several perks and different effects that can raise your HP. And depending on what kind of perks you pick for your race, as well as the general perks which are existent for all characters, you can make something very versatile and meet your needs for the wasteland. Character creation rules can be found under the website under the Notable Characters section. This is usually where the listing of characters are that are already existent or waiting to be approved in the game. And when you're approved, you'll have quite the sights to explore while going about Diablo Canyon. Now we're going to talk about locations. Now, Second Life is a simulator program. A lot of the content that's in there is user-made. It's all been placed in here by the administration and the players to help make the feel of the Fallout universe. Everything from the junky wasteland to the facilities that you find outside to the stables and the bunkers that you would eventually come across. It's all been expertly placed, and it all helps to recreate the feel of Fallout Equestria. You can even create your own home or base, and even your own place as a merchant stall if you don't take up too much room in the simulator. Even players can take different locations over time. This shows the Enclave having taken over one of the stable bunkers. Now, with all of this in mind, the game still wouldn't be successful without having its own player base. And this game does have a player base. There are currently over 100 registered players on the website alone, all of them with their own unique character builds and setups and backstories, all of which try to contribute to the Fallout Equestria universe. Now, this isn't to say that you're not going to come across some players who just don't know how to roleplay. Some people are still learning or starting out. But there are a lot of experienced players that will help you if you have any questions. At present, I've been playing a character known as Frigid Winds, a retired mercenary and merchant that has been spending time trying to figure out what has been going on in Diablo Canyon. Not only does he have a bad experience with the Enclave in his past, but he also tends to spend most of his time trying to protect the town, or argue with the townsfolk over how that can best be done. Of the different ponies I've met so far, I've come across robots that are part of the artificial intelligence defense network that were in the town. I've come across raiders, ghouls, mutants, robots, and I've even had a few clashes with the Grand Pegasus Enclave, whom have currently been recruiting ponies, attacking the townsfolk, and trying to take technology from the area. I'm sure that if you guys go into the game, you'll find plenty to explore. Between player-driven content and the experience that you have from the lore that's been given to this universe, the amount of time and effort that's been put in by both players and the administration just to make the setting just right, this game is definitely worth a look. Now, I do want to give you guys a disclaimer. This game is still in open beta, so your experience with it may vary. This is also a multiplayer experience. You have to coordinate not only using the website, but the game itself in order to have a good time, which means you also have to familiarize yourself with Second Life. This also is coupled with the fact that you have to build your own character, quite literally. However, there are kits available that allow you to get involved without spending any money. When all is said and done, you'll have a lot of fun by the end of it. I think that wraps things up for now. This has been Deckard Spade, and as always, thanks for staying a while to listen.